The Phoenix suburbs were wrapped in an unusually peaceful atmosphere at dusk. The scent of oregano and basil from my garden wafted on the dry desert breeze. The ridgeline of Camelback Mountain was bathed in the setting sun as another tranquil day drew to a close. "Grandma, your cookies today were so delicious." Emily's voice echoed from the kitchen. My granddaughter is 7 years old, a little girl with a delicate sensibility and keen powers of observation. Today, as my daughter Samantha is working the night shift, Emily is spending time at my house. I'm Catherine Brown, 64 years old. I retired 2 years ago from my position as a librarian, where I worked for 35 years, and now I'm enjoying a peaceful retirement. Since losing my husband Thomas, time spent with my daughter and granddaughter has become my emotional anchor. "Emily, did you finish your homework?" I asked, and she proudly showed me her math workbook. I finished it all. But the fractions part was hard. I smiled as I patted her head. Samantha works as a nurse at the local hospital. Since her divorce 2 years ago, she's been working tirelessly as a single mother while raising Emily. On the days when she has night shifts, looking after my granddaughter has become part of my routine. "Hey, Grandma, do you think the hydrangeas in the garden will bloom soon?" Emily peered out the window into the garden. She loves animals and plants, and often helps me with my organic vegetable gardening. My daily life is fulfilling, with running a book club every Thursday and volunteering at the local senior center. Thanks to the assets Thomas left behind, I don't have any financial worries. Still, the dining table feels somehow lonely without him. In the midst of all this, Michael, Thomas's brother, has become a strong source of support. He manages the prestigious Desert Palm Inn hotel. Even after Thomas passed away, he's been thoughtful of our family, always looking out for us. At our monthly family dinners, he always offers warm words of encouragement. 40 years of marriage with Thomas. Our anniversary dinners at the Desert Palm Inn were our precious tradition. Tomorrow, we'll be spending his first death anniversary at that place filled with memories. Michael arranged a room for us at a special rate. "Grandma, I'm excited about the hotel tomorrow," Emily says with sparkling eyes. "The pool must be wonderful, right?" "Yes, it's lovely. But remember, tomorrow is an important day to remember Grandpa." "I know. I'm bringing Grandpa's photo with me." Her words made my eyes well up. Even at her young age, Emily is very understanding of others' feelings. I started preparing dinner. Thomas's memorial photo sits on the table. Looking at his photo with that gentle smile, I whispered in my heart, "Dear, we're doing fine. But if we could meet again, I have so many things I'd like to tell you." As stars began twinkling in the Arizona sky, our quiet dinner was about to begin. At that moment, I couldn't have imagined how our peaceful daily life was about to be greatly shaken. When I parked the car at the Desert Palm Inn's main entrance, Michael greeted us with a broad smile. The Spanish colonial-style majestic building glowed a warm brown in the setting sun. How many anniversaries had Thomas and I celebrated at this hotel with its 60-year history? Catherine, Samantha, Emily. So glad you could make it. Michael hugged each of us carefully. "I've prepared a special sweet. I think you'll really like it." He wore his usual sociable smile, but somehow seemed unsettled. However, I attributed this to his grief over losing his brother. After all, today was the eve of his beloved brother's death anniversary. The lobby's marble floor featured a mosaic of desert flowers. Saguaro cacti, angel's trumpets, Oklahoma primrose, and other plants representative of Arizona created vivid patterns. Emily, fascinating by the designs, followed the patterns with her eyes, identifying each plant's name. I couldn't help but smile at my nature-loving granddaughter. At the check-in counter, Judith, a veteran employee, welcomed us warmly. She said she had been working at this hotel for over 20 years. She remembered Thomas and me, reminiscing, "You were always such a loving couple, the envy of all a staff." Her words made my eyes mist over slightly. Michael escorted us to the 15th floor, the top floor. In the elevator, he reminisced about old times. "Remember, 10 years ago on your anniversary, Thomas surprised you by bringing in an orchestra. I'll never forget your surprised face. That day was indeed special. Thanks to my husband's arrangements, a small concert was held in the lobby, and they played Moon River, our special song. I still vividly remember the waltz steps I danced with Thomas. The view from here is spectacular," Michael said proudly as we stepped out of the elevator. "You can see the entire sunset over the Sonoran Desert." Thomas loved this view. When the door opened, Emily let out a small exclamation of delight. "Wow, amazing!" Beyond the spacious living room were floor-to-ceiling windows offering a magnificent view of Camelback Mountain. The room was decorated with elegant sand-colored wallpaper and Native American artwork. "How do you like it?" Michael asked. "Thank you for this beautiful room," I replied with heartfelt gratitude. "I'm sure Thomas would be pleased." "You know, Catherine," Michael said, lowering his voice slightly, "I've arranged a special breakfast menu for tomorrow, including Thomas's favorite blueberry pancakes. And..." He paused and pulled a small envelope from his pocket. "This is the last letter he wrote. I've been looking for the right time to give it to you." I stared at the envelope in surprise, recognizing my husband's handwriting. "Thank you, Michael. I'll read it later when I have some quiet time." After confirming our dinner reservation, Michael excused himself for business matters. We started unpacking and settling in. Samantha went to take a shower, and Emily began reading her favorite book on the sofa by the window. I took the letter and stepped out onto the balcony. The Arizona twilight was more beautiful than ever. As I was about to open the letter, I sensed something slightly off. The seal seemed to be partially opened. But I quickly dismissed such doubts. I wanted to focus on my thoughts of Thomas. The clock was approaching 6 p.m. As the desert sky began turning crimson and soft evening light filtered into the room, I stood by the window, immersed in memories of Thomas. That's when it happened. "Grandma, I smell gas in this room." Emily's voice rang out anxiously. She looked up from her book, her nose twitching. My sensitive granddaughter had detected the anomaly before we adults noticed it. "What?" I tried to check the air around us. Indeed, there was something off about the smell, but I couldn't immediately identify what it was. "Samantha, do you smell anything?" I called out, knocking on the shower room door. I could feel my heartbeat gradually quickening. Suddenly, the room phone rang sharply. Startled by the unexpected sound, we froze in place. My hand trembled slightly as I reached for the receiver. Thomas's words flashed through my mind: "If something feels wrong, trust your instincts." But before I could answer the phone, Samantha burst out of the bathroom. "Mom, something feels wrong," Emily ran to her mother. Samantha, perhaps due to her nursing experience, seemed to grasp the situation immediately. "Let's check with the front desk," Samantha made a quick decision. "Emily, it's okay. Mama's right here with you." We hurried into the hallway. A tense atmosphere hung in the air as we waited for the elevator. When the doors opened, all three of us slipped inside together. During the descent, none of us could speak a word. When we reached the first floor and rushed to the front desk, Judith was staring at us with a pale face. Her warm smile from earlier had vanished, replaced by an expression of deep fear. "Please leave the hotel immediately." Judith's voice was trembling. Her expression showed something more urgent than just a routine emergency. Her eyes seemed to reflect deep sympathy for us. If we needed to get out, that meant being in this building was dangerous. I instinctively gripped Emily's hand tightly. The warmth from my grandchild's palm felt like the only certain reality in this surreal situation. That's when we began to hear sirens in the distance. In my mind, all the pieces gradually came together: Michael's unsettled behavior, the signs of tampering on the letter, and now this emergency. As we exited through the hotel's main entrance, the Arizona night air enveloped us. Several other guests had already evacuated to the parking lot, looking up at the building with worried expressions. The sound of sirens was getting closer by the second. "Emily, are you cold?" Samantha asked as she draped a jacket over her daughter's shoulders. Emily shook her head slightly, but tears glistened in her eyes. Just then, Judith came running after us, out of breath. "Mrs. Brown." She looked around cautiously before continuing in a low voice. "We've already called the police. But there's something you need to know." Her words were drowned out by the sirens of arriving police vehicles. 3 patrol cars pulled up in front of the hotel one after another, and uniformed officers quickly emerged. One officer shouted loudly, "All hotel guests, please evacuate to a safe location." In the confusion, I realized I only had my handbag with me, containing my passport, wallet, and the letter Michael had just given me. All our other belongings were still in the room. "Are you Mrs. Catherine Brown?" A detective approached us. "I'm Jim Connor. I'd like to talk with you for a moment." He appeared to be in his mid-40s, with a sincere gaze. We were led to a rest area at the edge of the parking lot. Emily wouldn't leave her mother's side, and Samantha held her daughter close. "First, I'm relieved to confirm you're all safe," Detective Connor began in a calm tone. "I understand you noticed a gas smell in your room." I nodded and began explaining the sequence of events, Emily noticing the odd smell first, the mysterious phone call right after, and Judith's behavior at the front desk. "Actually," Judith began speaking with a trembling voice, "this morning, near the utility room, I overheard a conversation between Mr. Michael and Peter, the maintenance man." Her testimony went far beyond what we could have imagined. The conversation between Michael and the maintenance man. A gas release device set to activate at midnight. Plans to erase security camera footage. And talks of insurance fraud disguised as an accidental death. He really tried to, us. The words caught in my throat. Thomas's brother, someone we trusted as family, had planned to take our lives. Detective Connor's expression grew stern. In our search of the utility room, we found a gas release device with a timer. It was set to activate at 3 a.m. At that moment, a commotion erupted at the hotel entrance. As we turned to look, we saw Michael being restrained and escorted away by 2 officers. "Hey, we need to talk." Michael's angry shouts echoed through the night air. "This is all a misunderstanding." But his eyes were bloodshot, and his usually mild-mannered expression had completely vanished. I quickly turned toward Emily. Fortunately, Samantha was covering her daughter's ears, protecting her from the violent scene. "Mrs. Brown," Detective Connor said quietly. "We found crucial evidence in Michael's room." He showed us documents in a plastic bag. They detailed elaborate plans, the hotel's bankruptcy, debts to loan sharks, and notes about my inheritance insurance money. He was carrying a debt of $3 million, the detective continued matter-of-factly. The repayment deadline was in 1 week. He must have been desperate. The letter from Michael trembled in my hands. The envelope with signs of tampering. Was this all part of the plan too? What happened to Thomas's real letter? Judith gently placed her hand on my shoulder. "I've worked at this hotel for 20 years. Mr. Thomas was always so kind to me. When I learned about this plan, I couldn't stay silent. Her courageous decision had saved our family's lives. I couldn't find words to express my gratitude." As the night wore on, reporters began gathering around the hotel. Camera flashes flickered as reporters with microphones crowded against the police line. "Hey, Grandma," Emily called out in a small voice. "Are we safe now?" I held my granddaughter tightly. "Yes, we're safe. Thanks to you noticing something was wrong, we're all okay." Samantha embraced our shoulders. "Let's go back to my house tonight. All of us together." Countless stars twinkled in the Arizona sky. Looking up, I felt as if Thomas was watching over us. The days ahead would surely be different from before. But my precious family was here with me. That was the only certain hope in this night of chaos. 1 week later, Michael's initial hearing was held at the Arizona Supreme Court. According to Detective Connor, the charges included attempted murder, attempted fraud, and property damage. The evidence was perfect, leaving Michael almost no room to plead not guilty. When our eyes met in court, I caught my breath. In just 1 week, he had aged dramatically. His sociable smile was gone, replaced by deep shadows under his eyes. Michael stared at me and began speaking in a weak voice. "Catherine, I..." Tears welled up in his eyes. After Thomas died, the hotel's management rapidly deteriorated. The loans from sharks snowballed. I was backed into an impossible corner. According to the prosecutor, Michael's plan had been in motion for over a year. The Desert Palm Inn's management had already reached its limit. $3 million in debt. threats from loan sharks, and his obsession with the $5 million I had inherited. I trusted you as a brother, my voice trembled. Thomas worried about you until his very end. Michael turned away. I'm truly sorry. But apologies held no meaning anymore. As we left the courthouse, Samantha held my hand. Mom, it's over now. Emily reached out her small hand too. Let's think about fun things from now on, okay? That evening, we held a small tea party at home. We invited Judith too. Without her brave action, we might not be here today. I should have noticed earlier, Judith said apologetically, holding her tea. Michael's recent behavior was clearly strange. But I never thought it would go this far. No, thanks to you, our family is safe, I replied with heartfelt gratitude. And thanks to Emily's keen senses too. Emily smiled shyly. Samantha gently stroked her daughter's head. My girl is really observant. About animals and nature, and about people's feelings too. Outside the window, the setting sun was painting the desert landscape red. The oregano and basil in the garden swayed in the gentle breeze. I could feel our peaceful daily life gradually returning. The next morning, my book club friends came to visit one after another. The incident had been widely reported in local media, and everyone was worried. They brought homemade casseroles and bouquets, offering warm words of support. Catherine, don't hesitate to ask if you need anything. Emily, let's bake cookies together again soon. Samantha, don't push yourself too hard at work. We can help with shift adjustments. The community support made my heart swell. For the 2 years since Thomas passed away, these people had been my emotional support. And now again, they were giving me strength to overcome this new trial. In the afternoon, Detective Connor stopped by. Michael Brown has admitted to all charges, he said quietly. His accomplice, the maintenance man Peter, has also been arrested. Both are likely to receive substantial prison sentences. What will happen to the Desert Palm Inn? I asked. Once the debt is settled, it's scheduled to be sold to new owners, the detective answered. It's a hotel with 60 years of history. I'm sure it will be reborn in a good way. Hearing those words, I suddenly remembered all those anniversaries with Thomas. Dancing in the lobby. The sunset view from the window. That place holds indelible memories. Hey, Grandma, Emily came running in from the garden. The hydrangeas are starting to bloom. I went to the garden with my granddaughter. Indeed, the buds of the hydrangeas we had planted recently were beginning to show color. The birth of new life. It seemed to symbolize a new beginning for our family. Samantha, I called to my daughter. Why don't we go for a picnic this weekend? That sounds nice, my daughter answered with a smile. How about Papago Park? Emily loves it there. Yay! Emily jumped up and down. I'll help make the lunch boxes. In the evening twilight, I sat alone in my study and opened an album. It contained memories spanning 40 years. The wedding with Thomas. Samantha's birth. Emily's first steps. And family photos with Michael. As I turned each page, I reflected. Life sometimes takes unexpected turns. But what matters is continuing to move forward and believing in the people who share this moment with us. In the Arizona night sky, countless stars were shining. Tomorrow will be another new day. After all, our story still continues.